Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to route out the Bugs Bunny character from the cartoons, obviously, on a bit of recycled pine. This would have been live as a wardrobe tabletop of some description, and I've took my time just to stand off the top there, and it literally is the right size for the project. I'd actually printed this off and then go searching for wood, and it more or less just to say get it in. You'll see when we take the template off. So we've printed it out, we've stuck it down. I just like to pop in a good old piece of nice fresh carbon paper. Not this one, this one's been on every video. That would serve no purpose at all. Pop it underneath, and I like to get myself a biro. It just stands out better, and literally just draw around the old thing. Takes 5 minutes plus. For me, this is all part of the project. There's other ways. You could stick that straight down there with a spray glue and try routing over the top. You can also print it in reverse, spin it around with some acetone and rub the back and get all the... There's plenty of different ways. Do a little bit of research. For good old carbon and paper, works best for me. That way, you can obviously use that over and over again. So no more printing out needed. So there's our image there. It looks a lot to go at the moment in time. Looks a bit complicated. What I've done on this one, normally I would shade in the areas I want to remove, but we're going to remove quite a bit. The only sections that we are actually going to leave once we've routed this one out is the black lines. So we've got to remove all the white sections. We've got to route it all out. So on this occasion, it was easier just to get the pen and just put our little markers on these sections that we want to remove. For routing out with, we're going to use, as always, little CNC bits from me, eBay or Amazon. They do come with a small shaft on them, 3.175mm. I'm going to get it, there we go. This is a 15 degree on this one. So you will need what they call an adapter reducer collet, and it's simply just a little tube like that, 6.35mm. which is 1/4 of an inch. And if you slot your little CNC bit in the end there, that's now got a 1/4 inch shaft on, and you can pop that in your router. Router is normally a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. If you've got the bigger shank or shaft on your router, you're obviously going to need the bigger collet. So we use this CNC bit to do all our lines with. So as we got up to the line here, remember, and up to the line on this side. I very rarely route out on the line. If some of these may look a little fatter, should I say, as I've gone round, then we might just nibble away just to slim down that centre line there. But normally, we always route up to the line. Once we've gone round all the lines, as we say, we'll pop on a end milling bit. These are fantastic for clearing out with. And we'll get one that we know is going to fit into these smaller sections around here, to get inside up in there and obviously in here, and they fit the same adapter collet. So literally just slot that out, slot that in, and we're good to start removing out all the areas that have got the little pen crosses on, as you can see. Now depth wise, I like to work on 3mm, which is obviously the same thickness as one of your CNC bits, 3.175mm, so we call it 3. And I find that's plenty deep enough. I did make myself a piece of wood saw here, if I can just find it quickly. Nope, I can't find it. No, we did have a piece of wood somewhere with a little depth gauge on it. You can purchase depth gauges, eBay, Amazon. Where did that go? Okay, this is a similar one. This is not the one I wanted to use, but I just marked off certain depths like that. That's far too deep. And I think it's that second one that comes in at about 3mm. And literally, we put the CNC bit in the router, and then we sit the router on there, and we can set it to what depth we want. But you can purchase proper ones if need be. First myself, it takes 2 minutes to make one out of wood. Right, we'll set it to 3mm, our little CNC bit. Start doing all our lines. And then we'll come in with the end milling bit to clear out with, once we find one that's a nice size for us. And then once we've had a look at it, we will be cutting it out on a scroll saw. You can see from there, we literally just got it in. Couldn't have made it any tighter if we wanted to. So we'll cut it all out and inside that little section there, let's remember to mark that one off. And then we're looking to general tidy up, and then we'll work out if we're going to put paint in this or resin. But before that, we'll just start routing this one out. It comes in at 16 inches by 11 inches, I believe, across, 10 inches across maybe. Okay, it's 10 inches by 16, so it's a nice little size. And like I say, it's on recycled wood. It might be a bit powdery, but it's free wood, so we can't complain about that. Okay, let's start routing this one out. Right, so we've made it all the way around with that CNC bit, so it's just a simple case of removing it from the router. My old Black & Decker there. I'm on my 9th machine now. They don't even make these routers anymore, but I'm quite happy with it. It works well for me. So we've done all our lines, as I say. If we just move this out of the way quickly, and you can see from that. Quite dusty, this pine, but it's just recycled cheap pine, remember, so we can't grumble too much about it. So there we go. So now it's just a simple case of popping on an end milling bit. These are fantastic because they do all the side walls as well as the back section. And I'm just going to pick a nice small one that actually fits into the smaller areas around here, no problem. And it's just a simple case of sliding it into your adapter collet. We'll pop that back into the router like so, tighten it all up, and then we'll be good to go. Let's start clearing out all these sections with the little marks on. Right, that's all nicely cleared out with those end milling bits. I certainly have no issues with them. And you can more or less see, if you get close up, they do a nice smooth job of the back section, as well as coming in and nibbling at the sides, like so. So we're looking on track for now, should we say. Now the next stage for me, I just want to cut this out. You notice here, we just made it to the edge of there. We might have to work on that a little bit on that edge there. So we'll cut it out first, and then we'll come back and tidy it up, and then decide what we're going to do as regards to putting paint in, or we're going to put resin in this one. You notice on that section there, I've already pre-drilled what they call a pilot hole. That is literally so we can feed our blade into that hole, and that will allow us to cut out that little section there. Now blade for me, as always, is going to be a spiral blade. Pegas number 5. The teeth spiral the full length of the blade, as you can see from there, so they will cut in any direction. So we can literally just start coming from the side there, and we can just move this wood round like so. And you want us to turn it at all. With the other 2 blades, what you get, which is a pinless blade, your more professional guys and the detailed work use these ones. And you also get a pin blade that obviously has pins on the side, top and bottom. They will pin into your more cheaper saws. Remember, you want it smooth on the way down, rough on the way up. That way you know your blade's in the right way round. You could use any of these 3 blades on this project because there's nothing too complicated. Just a simple case of cutting the surround. With mine, unfortunately, my scroll saw only takes pin blades, so I have to use these adapter clamps. There's different types, and they're just ideal because they just basically fit the blade top and bottom, and I will hook that on where I would normally put in the pin blade. Right, we'll pop this on the saw, we'll cut it out quickly. Once it's all nicely cut out, I will come in with one of these engraving bits. These are all eBay or Amazon. I like to get one that's got a nice flat bottom on, like so. Simply pop it into the flexi cable on my Dremel. You don't need it on all projects, but it's just a nice little flat bottom piece here. That's ideal for going around and getting into those little corners there and taking all your little nobblies, any fluffy bits, any bits that are left behind. We'll tidy it up, skim over a little mouse sander as always, and then to finish it off, nice bit of standard paper. Okay, we'll do all that quickly, and then we'll be on to the final stretch of deciding what we're going to finish it with, paint or resin. But let's cut it out first. Okay, so we cut it out on the scroll saw with the Pegas number 5. Then we use a mouse sander just to tidy the pencil lines away. And then obviously, little engraving bit on the end of a little flexi cable there. And a good old bit of sandpaper just around those edges off and just to smooth things out. And you can see from that, so far, so good, as we say. And we also, remember, we cut out that little section there with the scroll saw. Now, I'm going to stick with the resin idea. So I'm literally going to pour resin, coloured resin, into each one of these sections that we've made. If resin is not your thing, you could paint that now. So you've got your whites and your greys and the carrot up there. Give it a nice sanding over and then paint your black lines afterwards, or dark stain, whatever you prefer. But for me, we get all our paints on now and any varnishes that we need, then once the resin goes in, the project will be finished. And with my resins, I just use acrylic paints mixed with resins, so with some nice whites in here, plenty of grey for the bunny itself, some green in there, and so on. So I'm going to start off with some sprays. Now, spraying is not my thing, but these are all more or less empty, so that's a primer to go underneath. And I found another empty one basically, so I'm going to use all them what's left just to cover it, and I'm going to go in with some black gloss spray. I've actually just been down to the shops and they've got nothing in at all. Stocks are really low, so we're going to make do what we've got. If that doesn't work out, I have got some nice lovely new Painter's Touch black. This is one of my favourite paints, and I could paint this straight away now with that and have no issues that I believe of. However, getting down these side bits will be a bit more awkward getting in with a brush, so I'm basically going to try and use up what we've got left, and if it doesn't work out, obviously we've emptied those out, and then we can come back in with the proper paint at the end just to finish it off. Let's see what we've got with the spray wise, and then we'll come back with a painter's touch. This is on left. Right, that's all nicely sprayed. We managed there with our little primer. That's definitely empty now, and we've sprayed on the top. And for the side walls, I actually use the painter's touch. At this moment in time, I do believe I'm still happy to and prefer to use a brush and paint. But spray work just as easy, and it's ideal for when you're doing areas that have a lot of these cutouts. Saves you trying to get in there with brush, because we need them side walls doing, because when we put the resin in, we're not going to fill it up flush. We want it just to say be slightly off the top, so you can still go along and feel that with your fingers, and you know it's been routed out instead of being flush on. And you can see from that we've got a nice shine on, and all the sides are done. And while we're at it, we popped a little bit on the back as well. So that's it as regards to the spraying and painting side of things. Now we're going to find some resin, mix up with some acrylic paints, and basically start filling all the sections in. Let's do that next. Okay, so it's resin time. Now the resin for today is Vista 1. It's a 1-to-1 mix, so basically 1 part your resin to 1 part your hardener, and you mix it to a 1-to-1 mix, so identical amounts of each. Some resins are 2-to-1, 3-to-1, so it will be 3 times your resin to 1 part your hardener. But nice and easy, 1-to-1 mixes. Remember, some resins you mix by volume, some resins you will mix by weight, so just make sure you check that. And some resins are deep pours and some are shallow pours, should we say. For me personally, I use these plastic party cups like so, and I mark them off enough of A. They've got little grooves on the side, so I'll count up 5 for the resin and do exactly the same for B, the hardener. So we count up 5 there. Now for mixing wise, just cheap plastic party spoons. These are ideal because they do have a nice little groove in the bottom there. Once you've done your mixing, you can scoop that out and just trickle that in to the more tighter areas. There's different methods, and once we've got them in there, we simply get a cocktail stick and just help feed it away into these tighter areas. Now for colour, should I say, for me today is acrylic paints. As always, I've used powders and dyes and inks in the past, but I've certainly had no issues with acrylic paints. So we will mix up, pop a bit of that in, mix it around, and basically just start filling this one in. Remember, we're not going to go to the top, we just want enough just to cover the background, and so we can still feel that it's been routed out. Okay, I'll mix these 2 parts up, A and B, into our little containers, and then you transfer them all into one. Add our paints, and we can start filling this one in. Just on while we're here, please put gloves on. You want a proper resin mask, and you want plenty of ventilation. Please don't follow my example with the gloves and stuff. Right, there's our resin nicely mixed. We're going to start off with white, and if we have any left over, we can add another colour to it, like to make a smaller pink for the tongue inside there, or whatever we need to make up of. So I always try and do the biggest colours first, which will obviously be white and grey on this one. We'll go for the white and just see how we go on. Now it's a simple case of putting in your acrylic paints. They do say work on a 10-to-1 ratio. Personally myself, I've just put in what I think I need, and it's worked out pretty fine for me. I can honestly say I've had no issues where the resin is not set or cured. So I'm just trying to speed things up a little bit here, and it will basically be the same thing. We'll mix a bit. I'd rather mix small amounts than mixing a big cupful like that. By the time you've played about and got yourself in a bit of a to do with it all, it will start going off on you. So smaller batches at a time works better for me. Once you've got your colour in there, we can do a little sample, and if it's not as white as we think, we can basically just add a bit more. Okay, that doesn't look too bad for me. Right, we'll speed things up now and basically just start filling this one in. Right, that's all nicely finished. You can see from that. Now that blue, look, we have plenty of bubbles in there, if you can just see. So I just want to show you why we go over with a lighter afterwards. I'll just use one of these things and just skim over the top and you'll see all those bubbles disappearing. And I'll go over this a couple of times just to make sure that any that pop back in a couple of minutes time. Okay, we get the general idea from that. We'll literally put this to one side for 24 hours. Get a nice cover to cover it all over with. Just keep the dust off. Any flies or anything, they will find it for sure. So we'll come back in 24 hours and then we'll see how we've finished. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. Now it's literally 24 hours later. Personally, I will leave this for another 2 or 3 days just to make sure. But you can see from that, everything is nice and solid. That blue's come out really nice. I do find certain colours come out better than others. Black being one of the better ones of the two. Blue's a good colour. The other colours you can struggle with sometimes. And if you get really close up, you can see we're more or less there, aren't we? Now, the only issues I did have, and boy, did I have some issues. The routing out was no problem. That was the easiest part of the project. Personally, I wish I'd painted it now because resin has just been a little bit of a pain on this one for some reason. I just either wasn't concentrating or obviously I'm trying to film in between and have a little camera, my mobile phone above the unit itself. The project, should I say. But anyway, right, where do we start? First of all, these two sections here, these two blue sections, when I did the white, I filled them in with white. And there's also a section here that's got the back of his mouth in. You just see that one line there. I filled that in with white. Didn't even realise. I moved on. We moved on to the grey colour, remember? And as I went round, I actually filled in these two little sections here. They really are small and you could have probably let them go, but if you're just about to see it, there's two little sections of blue there. I also filled them in with grey. So I'm sitting back, taking out a rest, thinking it's coming out really nice. And I actually sent a photograph to a friend of mine who does similar projects. And when I look back on the photograph, I thought, they shouldn't be filled in. Why are they filled in? So, luckily enough, it was still at the soft stage, as we call it. So I had to go in with a cocktail stick, scrape it all out, clean it all out. And the same with that section there. And then them two sections here. If I'd left it any longer, it would have been solid. And we might have got away with actually routing it out again. But it was more work than needed. And also the green here, you notice how rough and ripply that is, as we'll call it. We'll call it ripply. A little bit of resin left on for that one. and when I squeezed in the green, it just come out as one big dollop. So too much colour in that one, and it really thickened it up. But we've got lucky because it actually adds to the texture of the image, if you know what I mean. It looks like leaving on the carrot. So we got lucky with that one. And the rest of it has gone fine. I really do like that blue. I had an issue between putting the blue in or a red background. I didn't want the red to match in too much with the orange. So I went for blue. So apart from those colours getting filled in and getting removed again and getting redone, and this one here, this little project is finished. So we stuck with it. And just while I'm on, the actual white and the grey I did on one day, put it to one side. We'd had enough. And then we came back the next day, recharged up, and then we went for it again and continued with it all. The good thing about resins and any of these wooden projects, it doesn't have to be done in one day, does it? Just take your time, enjoy yourself. And for some reason, it just wasn't working out. So we've had a couple of mishaps, but we've rectified ourselves as regards these little bits here. Okay, so it's a rabbit. It measures in at 11 inches by 16 inches. Remember, we used our little CNC bits here to do all our lines with, and then we came in with good old end milling bits. I will put some links in the description. And on this one, we actually sprayed it. We had enough of that primer, if you remember. Sprayed it over the primer, a little sanding down, and then a bit of black spray just to finish it off. And I wasn't too happy with the sides, so we actually painted on the sides with the painter's touch paints. And for hanging purposes, a simple hook like that is more than plenty. And I've had it on the wall already, and it hangs nice and straight. So that's it. This little project is finished. If things aren't working out the way as you planned, just step back, take a breather. There's always another day. There's no rush, no panic to do these. These are all just little fun projects for me. But this one, Bugs Bunny, inlaid and routed out, should I say, on recycled pine and inlaid with resin, Vista 1 resin mixed with acrylic paint. This little project is finished. Thank you very much for watching.